Hello and welcome back. I thank you all for joining me today. For those of you who have recently subscribed, welcome. And if you've only checked this out once or twice, again, welcome. And if you've watched every single video so far, which would be quite impressive, actually, there are hundreds of them, again, welcome. My point here is that these videos are for every experience level. What we offer here is A Course in Miracles. Just that. And it is for all experience levels, whether you're brand new to this material, whether you've just started it, or even if you're just checking this out and you find yourself watching this particular channel amidst all of the other channels on YouTube, and maybe you're not sure why. Stick around. That reason why will be revealed to you. When it is, it's your inner teacher speaking to you. And you would do very well indeed to be present for that message and to pay attention. And then it would be even kinder of you to do what your inner teacher suggests and put it into practical application, which is where the action is in all spirituality, regardless of the tradition. And also, let me not neglect those who have been long-term students of this course. There are many of you that have been studying this material for decades, so each and every video is, in fact, tailor-made to all of you, because we hear from our inner teacher exactly what we're meant to hear. What sticks with us, what stands out, and what resonates with us is exactly the message that's intended for us today. So thank you for joining me. I invite you to stick around for that. As we go through the text of A Course in Miracles, we're in chapter 10, section 5, which is entitled The Denial of God. Yeah. And we're right in the midst of this section of A Course in Miracles here. And there is a very strong message here that I hope really hits home for you. And I hope that you allow yourself to contemplate it, however fanciful it may appear to you, however improbable, however far out, woo-woo, or esoteric, or whatever other labels may pop to mind. I don't know. People use all kinds of things to denigrate themselves in the world, don't they? The list is quite endless. We're invited to entertain the message that you cannot be sick and you cannot die, yet you can confuse yourself with things that do. You heard that, right? And it says it right here in the text of A Course in Miracles. Paragraph 8, to be exact. You cannot be sick and you cannot die. Again, you cannot be sick and you cannot die. But you can confuse yourself with things that do. Here's one thing that does. You could confuse yourself with this organism, which we take to be us. We're conditioned to believe that it's us, that this constitutes our life, yet we know differently. I know that you know differently, because you're watching this, because you're interested in spirituality in the first place. If you were not, then there's a lot of other content out there on YouTube, much less all of the other internet sites and social media channels. I mean, there are a lot of things that we could be paying attention to here. Yet you've always known that there's more to it than just this sack that's 80% water. I mean, the components of a physical body are not precious in themselves. They're mostly water. There's some bones and some guts and cartilaginous tissue and gray hairs and things like that. I mean, what's so precious about that? Nothing. And it's not who we are. It's not the Son of God. A very well-known refrain from A Course in Miracles that's often repeated deliberately is, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I am not a body, you are not a body. None of us is a body, and we all know this. So let's spend a few moments and entertain that idea. Because you're not a physical body, and because you did not make yourself, you're perfectly safe where you've always been, in God. Same with your worst political enemy, same with your kids or your lover, your partner, same with you, same with all of us. Another idea from A Course in Miracles that I often repeat, that I want to invite you to consider yet again, is ideas leave not their source. Ideas leave not their source. Very famous and often quoted sentence, statement from A Course in Miracles. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. You are a thought of God. Each and every one of us is the thought of God, the extension of God. Thought of God, thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. Ideas leave not their source. Capital S, if you please. Where are you? You know. So we're just saying it. Again, where are you? Who are you? Oh, yeah. It's not this. What are you? Again, not this. And we're perfectly safe in God because we did not make ourselves. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. Ideas leave not their source. We've never left our source. Yes, capital S. And what's more is that creation is sharing. Love extends itself and only itself. Like extends like, something that's fairly easy for us to wrap our intellectual, so-called rational thinking minds around in the world. Like extends like. Of course it does. It doesn't extend something other than itself. It extends itself. God extends himself. Love extends itself and only itself. It's sharing. And you share what you have, what you are. Even in terms of physical objects here in the world, we don't share something that we don't actually have. But here's something we can all share: ideas, love. That we all have. And we all have this because there's simply one of us. There is no separation of any kind, which means there's no separation from God either. Impossible. There is no separation at all, period. So I invite you to let the power of that statement, which is true, sink in. Some of these ideas in A Course in Miracles may seem just too bizarre to be true or too simple to be true. We may have all kinds of reactions to this material, and I have no idea what you're experiencing right now. This could cause you to fly into a fit of rage and wish to rail against the image on your screen, which is just a pixelated image on your screen, after all. You could run and deny all of this if you want to, because it's your choice to do so. And it's fairly frequent, to be perfectly honest. When we're really honest with ourselves, we experience resistance to the truth. We find ourselves thinking that the deliverer of this, the conduit, the speaker, this pixelated image on your screen is wrong. Well, I'm not making any of this up. It says all this right here. But we find ourselves thinking, yeah, this can't possibly be. It sounds too simple. It sounds too easy. It freaks me out. No way. I am a body. Right? And we want to insist that we are. That's the ego, our false sense of individual self that wants us to go back to the way things were, which is completely unworthy of you. If you're on the spiritual path, like it or not, because as we all know, there's a lot of other stuff out there on YouTube, on social media. There's so many other channels. And here you are interested in A Course in Miracles, which points to truth, which will, if you embrace it and practice it, help you to set the ego aside and clarify your perception so that truth may dawn of itself. In other words, so that you may awaken, which is what we all want, whether we actively choose to acknowledge it or not. So at some point, you have actively acknowledged that. Welcome. You've never sinned. There is no sin. God has no ego to be offended. There is no separate other to offend. I mean, how could there be any such thing as sin if there's no separation? One can't transgress another because there is no separate other. Here in the world, it appears there are 8 billion of us, plus all of the other countless, really literally countless other life forms. It appears that there's multiplicity and division and subdivision. No, there is only perfect oneness. You can't possibly sin against God. Love doesn't hate. Love is love. It's not hate. Remember, like extends like. And just that. What we deny, this is very interesting here. I'm backtracking to paragraph 6 here. What we deny, in other words, God, remember the title of this section of the text is The Denial of God. So we could deny that we're one with God. We could deny that God exists. We could deny every single factual point about ourselves and who we are. It's our choice. You can deny whatever you want. What we deny, we must have once known. It's very interesting. That's why you're interested in spirituality, because you do know who, what, and where you are. You do know that you're the Son of God, the extension of God. You know this. You know that the physical body is not you. We just need to hear it repeated over and over again because we've been conditioned to think that it is us. That's all. I mean, it appears to run around in this world doing things like eating, sleeping, drinking water, writing an email, all of the stuff that we occupy our days with. I invite you to occupy your day with forgiveness of the Son of God and see what happens. Again, it's how we learn, is through practical application. These videos are important, sure. Reading the text itself or the workbook, the manual for teachers, whatever component you're working on, is of course indispensable. It's got to be done. But the real learning comes from practical application, where it's our experience that proves that the ideas presented in this course are true. We learn experientially, and that's powerful. If you want proof, I'm very glad that you do. Prove it to yourself through putting these ideas into practice. God does not deny you. He does not retaliate. He does not attack and condemn. He's not jealous. If you ever thought, how could perfect love condemn? Ever had that thought? I used to have that thought as I sat through one incredibly tedious Sunday school lesson after another growing up. I know that some of you can relate to this. Perfect love, love itself, does not hate, it loves. Doesn't condemn. There is no separation of any kind. You've never sinned. You are not a sinner. You are not. That would be completely impossible. So I hope that you can take heart in that. Now, you may want to disagree, no problem. Understand it's the ego that experiences all of this resistance. If you feel resistance, honestly, it's part of the path. It happens to all of us. I remember picking up this material several years ago for the first time and thinking, oh, do I really have to forgive that person? Because I really don't feel like it. So maybe you're in that place today. And of course, the answer is yes. However, we start with what we're capable of doing at a given time. If you find that a harm that has taken place in this lifetime or any other time is just too near and too painful, then start with forgiving what comes up for your forgiveness. Because anything that is not wholly joyous is, in fact, an opportunity to forgive. If you stub your toe, that is an opportunity for forgiveness. If you open the mail and there's a past due bill notice, it's an opportunity for forgiveness, isn't it? Anything that's not wholly joyous. So we start with what we're able to start with. It's all done under the guidance of our inner teacher, who knows what you're ready for. So I really invite you to take heart and some comfort, some reassurance in the message that you're not sick and you cannot die. You can confuse yourself with things that do get sick and that do die, because this doesn't last forever. Think of the changes that it experiences, it being the physical body. Think of the changes that experiences from one moment to the next, much less one day to another, much less one decade to another. It's finite. But the Son of God is not finite. Ideas leave not their source, and like extends like. So please, please take some reassurance in this message today that no matter what happens with the physical body, it isn't you. So you cannot be sick and you cannot die. There is no death. The Son of God is free. That's an idea from this course. So I invite you to take these to heart. Once again, when resistance crops up, as it often does, and perhaps you're experiencing a lot of it today, perhaps not, but it's the ego that's resistant. To go back to the way things were before you embarked on this thing that we call the spiritual path is completely unworthy of you. You know this. You deserve nothing less than truth. That's what's pointed at in these videos. As a teacher, all I can do is point. That's all any teacher can do, is point to truth, which is actually beyond all of our concepts. It simply is. So what we're doing here is we're engaged in a process of training our mind so that we may allow truth to be just as it is and dawn of itself. We go to work here in the dream, because this is most certainly a dream, and clarify our perception. We learn to see things as they are. And nothing less than that is worthy of you. You deserve nothing less than to see things as they are so that you may awaken in God. There is nothing else. So my hope is that you come away from this conversation inspired to forgive the Son of God, inspired to take these teachings into serious consideration in your life, and to think about them over and over and over again. Along the way, should you have questions, those are absolutely welcome here. This is a forum where we can have a discussion. So if you have particular questions about this lesson or any other lesson, your spiritual path, A Course in Miracles in general, please feel welcome to leave those questions here. And also, if you have a topic that you would like to see me cover in one of these videos, I'm more than happy to entertain those topics. So I've done that recently here, and that invitation is constant. So if you've got an idea that you'd like to see covered in a 20 to 25 minute video, something like that, no problem. Or a series of 20 to 25 minute videos, because some of these can require more. So let me know about that. Thank you to all of you who have recently joined us. If you've not yet subscribed, please do so, because we'd love to have you. This is the subscription arrow here in the corner of your screen. So when you click or hover over that, you'll be prompted to subscribe and join us. Please do that. What we've got here is a growing international community, which is a lot of fun. And it just goes to show that we have the ability to reach one another, especially here in the 21st century with all of this technology. When something lands here, it is your inner teacher speaking to you. So I mentioned several minutes ago at the outset that you'll hear what you're intended to hear today. And I hope that you're well aware of what that is. It's your inner teacher speaking to you, and I hope that you go forth and practice. That would be very, very kind of you indeed. So I thank you, as always, for joining me. I will see you soon.